Basically, the bolts that were used on the original gas tank were, I believe, M6. If they were American Standard, I have no idea what size they are. Petcock test fit again. Okay, pretty flat. Probably about as flat as I could get it. This is not hot glue. These are specially formulated plastic welding. These are ultra low temperature plastic ABS welding sticks that you use in a glue gun. And if you can barely see, the camera isn't focusing in it, I have one small hole that I have on the bottom side there. You can kind of see it. Insert going in and the insert tool twisting the new metal insert in. Just rethreading the bolt, and I do both of them. I think I only cut the video of doing one. So I smear it around, try to get it as even as possible, and then I go back and I smear a little bit more over where I had that small hole on the top. First off, before this video starts, I just want to apologize. I really do take great pride in the things that I work on, and if you saw my previous video, there's just not a lot that I could do to fix this gas tank without spending another $300. And because I need to get this quad out the door, I kind of zombie apocalypse this gas tank. I believe it'll be okay to ride, but the only other option here is when your petcock's leaking, that you just have to replace the entire gas tank. If you get lucky, then you might be able to pull those bolts out. But I'm not proud of this. I've had to do this before when I was younger and I didn't have any money, but get out the old hockey puck silicone. So that's gas resistant silicone, and if you're in a situation like I'm in where I wish I would have known, there's absolutely no videos on the internet on how to do this. If I would have known what I knew before I tore it out, the petcock out, I would have just cut the petcock in half, removed the bolts, and then tried to put the new petcock in. Instead, I completely destroyed the tank, so I had to even it out and stuff. But not proud, but I think it'll work. I'm going to let it set for a couple weeks with gas in it, make sure it doesn't leak. I'm pretty sure we're going to be okay, but it's just not the way that I usually like to do things. But in dire situations, you have to be able to adapt and overcome and, you know, fix things that need to be fixed. So Polaris, real funny, when it comes to special forces equipment, everything's interchangeable. They can pull bolts out and put bolts in on your stuff, but then when you sell to the American public, it's a bunch of crap. Okay, so we're going to be doing some voiceover here on this video. I'm not sure if the audio is going to come in or out. Basically, the bolts that were used on the original gas tank were, I believe, M6. If they were American Standard, I have no idea what size they are. I completely destroyed them when I started this modification. But on this petcock here, do not try to drill your petcock out with a larger drill bit. You need to have a smaller drill bit. What you can see me doing is I'm actually angling this. There's just a little more metal toward the outside of the petcock, so you need to take the drill bit and force it to the outside of the petcock. There's a very thin metal for the rubber seal that goes on it toward the inside of the petcock. So what I'm doing is I'm forcing the hole larger by forcing the drill bit toward the outside of the petcock. If you go to the inside and just stick a bigger drill bit in it, it'll leak because you won't get a seal. So what I've done is I've got an M8 by 1.25 bolt now, and I've drilled the hole accordingly, and I'm just kind of making sure that the bolt will go into the petcock. And after I do that, I'll pull the bolt back out, and then I will proceed to probably start on the other side here. The reason I don't have any audio from this is because I was playing music in the background, and of course YouTube will flag anything with any kind of music on it, so I need that ad revenue, baby. So mounted the petcock back in, and what I'm doing is I'm drilling the other side out, and I'm going toward the outside. Like I said, do not just put a bigger drill bit in there. There's not enough metal for the rubber seal. I'm just enlarging the hole so I can put the M8 bolt in there. And this may take a while. Don't rush this. If you just go one size bigger on your drill bits as needed. And I chopped through this footage pretty much. I had over 3 hours of footage on this, and I had to cut it down to about 20-minute video. So just inserting my M8 by 1.25 bolt again in the other side bolt hole. and I'm forcing it in there. We're not worried about the threads. I'm going to end up retapping these threads to make sure that the bolts are the correct size. And it appears that the bolt has gone in. Blow the metal shavings out. Go back to the other side, just make sure. There we go. Okay, so the bolts fit properly, and now we just put our Petcock screen in. Okay, now to step 2 here. As I was trying to remove the insert that was installed into this tank, I used a punch from the top side of the gas tank all the way down to the bottom side, thinking I could beat this piece out. This piece is pressed in there. I don't know if they heat molded it or whatnot, so all I'm doing is with my DA sander, and I believe I use 36 grit sandpaper. I'm trying to even out the surface because the surface got mangled as I started doing the punch method on it. And I'm trying to get this surface as flat as possible to get a good seal on the Petcock. The plastic was extremely mangled, and as I heated it and pulled the other rivets out that were pressed into the plastic, it deformed the gas tank. So I'm reinstalling the Petcock to see if the tank is flush. Probably flip the tank. Yep, flip the tank up. The tank is not flush. Going back to the sanding. Okay, sand, trying to get the surface as flat as possible. And whoopee. Okay, reinstall Petcock. Test fit again. Okay, pretty flat. Probably about as flat as I could get it. Okay, now we're going to get to the sealing process. This is not hot glue. These are specially formulated plastic welding. These are ultra low temperature plastic ABS welding sticks that you use in a glue gun. And because I had beaten on the gas tank so much, and that did move where the Petcock is, this round insert did move. I just want to go around and make sure that I'm going to go ahead and not have any leaks. So I'm plastic welding the gas tank. I'm going to go all the way around the gas tank just to be sure. I think I do 2 rounds here. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I went around twice. I just don't believe that this is a good design. What Polaris should have done with this gas tank is this round insert where this Petcock fits in. The gas tank should have been threaded with plastic, and you should have been able to turn this insert out, is what I would have done if I was the engineer. And then this surface here, I'm going back with the glue gun back around. It just should have been removable, and they made it so it's not removable, which totally screws the customer. You know, I only want to do this once, so going over this twice is not that big of a deal. So, let's see what happens here. Okay, so after I applied the glue, I wanted to come back and sand the gas tank again and try to get it flat. I changed the paper from 36 to, I believe we're now to an 80 grit. And if you can barely see, the camera isn't focusing in it, I have one small hole that I have on the bottom side there. You can kind of see it, that I got from the punch when I tried to punch that out. So we will address that later. I'm looking at the hole now. I think I actually pushed the plastic back in, and then this will identify the hole. So we're done sanding. I'm cleaning the surface with, I think I used brake parts cleaner, and you'll really see the hole here. And then I believe cleaning it up, looking at the hole, like, why the hell did I use that side? I should have used the flat side. It's my mistake. Wipe the table down. Does absolutely nothing. Okay, so now that I've went ahead and got all this cleaned up and got all that as flat as I can, I just couldn't get it no flatter. I'm marking the hole here. And now we're going to start rethreading the plastic. I wasn't 100% sure that this was going to work, or if I was even going to put this video out. what we're doing is we're enlarging the hole to accept an M8 by 1.25 rethread insert. If I have any of these links below, I will put it on Amazon on what I did. There was just enough plastic there to thread this to an M8 by 1.25 insert. But the one thing you do have to remember is once you go inside these holes on the inside of that gas tank, there is a stop. There's a round nubbin of a stop so it doesn't go all the way into the gas tank. So I'm going to thread this rethreader tool into the plastic and back it back out because I don't want to go all the way into the gas tank. I'm just inspecting it, blowing it out. The rethread tool on this plastic, I'm trying to clean out any excess plastic and going to reinsert the new hole threader. And it came in a little kit, so you can get all the inserts and you get the tap as well. And now we're going to go to the other side and do the other side as well. You just want to watch pushing the rethread tool all the way in. Once you get some resistance, you need to stop and just use a crescent wrench and try to get it as straight as possible. I think that one started to willy waller on me. So I went ahead and tried to get it in there as far as I can by hand. Because, we're just messing with plastic here. This isn't... I wasn't 100% sure that the insert was going to hold into the plastic. Because really you should set it into metal and then use like blue Loctite or something and set your insert into the metal and then beat the insert piece out that you install it with. But I'm just going to clean the hole out and then blow it out with my mouth. Of course, should have had an air tool, but don't have an air piece on here. And now I've got the insert going in and the insert tool twisting the new metal insert in. And I'm doing a both. I'm going to go ahead and do both sides so we're done. And I believe I mount the petcock on there and actually pull the gas tank toward the petcock, and then on the final install we'll RTV seal it up. And you need to make sure that you have gas resistant RTV silicone. Don't just put some clear silicone because the gas will eat it up. And my bolts do fit, and the inserts are holding, which that's a big plus. I really wasn't sure if they were going to hold just standard like that. So I'm going to test fit the petcock into the gas tank. And this test fit is actually going to pull the gas tank toward the petcock and hopefully stop some of the deformation from the pounding of the gas tank. If I would have known what I knew now after I had to do this, I would have just cut the bolts off, put new inserts in here, and reinstalled the petcock and not even probably used the RTV sealant. But when there's no videos on the internet and you download the operating manual, and the manual really doesn't tell you how to fix it, you kind of just have to wing it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just winging it. I'm going to go ahead and put the rubber seal on it and then reinstall the bolts. And that seal is why you don't just drill a hole, because you have a little bit of the rubber seal there toward the inside of the reserve and the fuel supply. So we've got our petcock holes where they should be, and we are going to go ahead and thread our bolts in there. And what I'm about to find out is that my bolts are too long. I'm going to have to end up cutting the bolts down and then rethreading the bolts after I damage them, cutting them down. So I'm reinstalling 2 bolts, and I'm thinking, man, I just saved $325 on an IMS gas tank, because I really don't want to get a used gas tank on eBay and then have to do this over again. And I'm actually putting a lot of force on this. And these inserts did hold. I'm really surprised. And my bolts are just too long. I'm actually going to go force these bolts all the way in. And then realize that this isn't going to work. Go to the other side. And I'm actually pulling that internal piece of the gas tank out toward the petcock to get a good seal. And it just isn't enough. There was actually a gap between the petcock and the fuel tank, which automatically said, "Oh man, I'm gonna have to silicone the shit out of this." I'm just testing the waters here on the insert that I installed, and I'm realizing that the bolts are way too long. So now we're going to remove the bolts out of the petcock, and I'm going to start the process of shortening the bolts. This is just a trial and error video. I mean, I wasn't for sure I was even going to make it. I was even going to release it if I couldn't make it work, but I made it work. And if you follow these directions without hammering the inside of the gas tank, you will be just fine. Okay, so now I'm actually, just had a microphone error. I'm actually cutting the bolts down. What I'm doing is I'm using a handsaw to start the cut into the bolt, and then I'm going to come back with my reciprocating saw that's battery operated, and which I do need to get some new blades in here. You're going to see that immediately. And now I am cutting the bolt. I have no idea what kind of bolt, what grade these are, but these bolts were a little tougher than I thought. And I think I'm on bolt number 2 now. Doing my starter cut to guide my reciprocating saw blade. And I have officially dulled the blade out. You will start seeing smoke. There's the smoke because the bolt's so hot. And the one thing is, when I do this and I get these bolts hot, I actually have a plastic floor in my garage. So when the end of the bolt falls off, I have to pick this up or it'll melt my floor with the plastic. And that thing is hot. So I'm now trying to hold it with, I think, a needle nose pliers and get through that. And I just mangled the bolt threads. And bada bing, bada boom, there goes the end of the bolt. So, okay, so we've shortened the bolts to what I think is appropriate. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to re-thread the threads of the bolt so it fits, because I mangled the bolts. Usually if you had a deburring tool, I couldn't find the deburring tool to get it started, so I just going in with my manual rethreader and rethreading the bolts. If you need one of these kits, I'll throw a link below for the kit on. I get you a good tap and die set. It's good to have one in the garage just in case, even when you're working on other stuff. So just rethreading the bolt, and I do both of them. I think I only cut the video of doing one. So we'll go ahead and finish this up and then go right back to the gas tank here. It's real important that you rethread this, otherwise you'll never get it in there. Okay, now we're back to the gas tank, and I've already RTV'd the little hole that I had, and I am applying the RTV gas resistant silicone seal that I didn't want to use, but I had to use, onto the actual petcock. You want to be careful smearing this stuff on there. Just put a good amount on it. I get a little bit on the reserve petcock, but not enough that it's going to be an issue. Because that reserve, the white tube there is the reserve. So once your fuel runs lower from the main fuel part, it'll kick in on the reserve, and you don't want to clog that. But I'm pretty sure I got enough on there, and we're going to go ahead and insert it. You have a lot of play time with this silicone for it to seal. It doesn't seal instantly. Actually, they want it to cure 24 hours before you put any gas in it.
So I've got a lot of play time here, and I believe I've already got the bolt ready to go. We're going to go from we're going to just insert one bolt, insert the other bolt, tighten one side, then go to the other side, then go to the other side, tighten some more, then tighten some more on the other side, and we're just pulling the plastic to the petcock. We're not tightening one side and then going to the other side and then pulling the plastic petcock up, or it'll never seal. So I'm on the other bolt right now. I'm looking at it. There is a very small gap. I decide to tighten this side up a little bit more to try to pull the plastic toward the petcock. And I am achieving that. Go to the other side. We're going to pull the plastic petcock in toward each other. We're tightening that side a little bit. Now we're going back to the other side. We're going to tighten up a little bit more. We're pulling the petcock so it's even to the gas tank. And I am inspecting, and I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more tightening. And we have got that side as tight as possible. These inserts do appear to work very well. And I'm coming back on my other side and tightening, double checking. First bolt really tight, visually inspecting. I think I go through the top with a flashlight to make sure I get a good seal. And I'm just doing an inspection, and I believe I end up putting more RTV around the base of the petcock. It was a very good seal, but I don't want to have to do this again. So I run a bead of the silicone around the petcock itself to create a barrier of the gas. If the gas was to leak, it would hit this and would stop instantly. So I smear it around, try to get it as even as possible, and then I go back and I smear a little bit more over where I had that small hole on the top. And now that I am satisfied, I cut a new vent tube, measure up to the old vent, hook it up, and then I install my Alba cap, and I actually let this set for 2 weeks in the garage, and I'm good to go. This video works fantastic, and don't forget to check my other videos.